One thing I love that you mentioned earlier too is just kind of like, breath to breath, moment to moment, energy. It's just like, how am I feeling? What am I doing? Like, instead of thinking like, here's my 10-year plan, here's my 20-year plan. 2020 onward for society has just reframed that, whether you like it or not, that there's a lot, I hope, of people feeling the moment more and just being in the moment versus worrying so much about what's to come. I wish that for people, and it's such an ongoing journey. Your career and your life, what those moments are continuing to build you towards. Is there anything in the future that comes to mind other than like drag fitness, of course? Ding! Like, set a TM sign here.
I've always been a very driven person, and before 2020, so it was like 2020, and with the passing of Adam and us being so close and starting a business together, CULTIV8 Coaching, like starting that together, like that really, like all of that, just what you said, it rocked me like to my core, and it still has. And I had no other choice, like so many of us, to just stop, and be with my grief, be with like all the broken parts of myself. And now I'm like, I feel that I'm this little, like the inside of me, like the little ray of light is there. And I'm like going through and like picking up the old parts of me and going like, Mr. Potato Head, like, does this fit? And
your
more
angry eyes.
Yeah, right. I have become so much more present and have reconciled with so much of my like trauma from my past, which helped, like really added to immense anxiety and panic attacks, panic disorders, like worried about the future. That in that place is like this precious pearl to me. And it was my wife. She said, Nikki, you're acting like you're made of glass. And now that you know that about yourself, but she said, but you're really, like, you're malleable, like you're there, but like, let that continue to shape you. And it's okay to bring some of those things back in, right? It's okay to have goals that align, and it's okay to plan for the future, because now, like, I truly know who I am. And this, like, existing, like, my mission in life is to just continue living with grief. Like, grief is love, and it's the expression of the feeling that you get when love can't get expressed. And to be able to actually exist as a human in kind of a constant state of grief, it's like I feel more joy than I ever have. I feel more sadness. Like I feel connected to like what I believe is, in my definition, like what it really means to be human. And now to go, okay, it's okay to plan and to do some of those behaviors that I did in the past. And so I am continuing onward. I've continued onward with Adam in my coaching company, so CULTIV8 Collective. So I continue to work with individuals one-on-one. I've done a lot of events around Chicago. So if anybody listening, if they do any like virtual events, I've done them with companies. I've done them with different mindfulness events for corporations, for I went to like an apartment complex the other day and like did it for the entire building, like, which was super cool. And like brought all of the journals. And there's a company in Chicago which is called Strengthen the City, and they've been incredible. Yeah, they bring in people from all over in like the movement sphere, like movement and wellness, and amplify their voices and bring together communities. So I've done work with them, and a handful, like I've done a lot of around Chicago and done some things virtually for some different companies, which has been incredible. So I would love to, my plan is to continue with that, do more like one-on-one coaching. I work with people in a very more spiritual sphere as well, which is like, that's the creme de la creme,
Creme de la creme.
And yeah, I'm at a place with my wife too, where we're excited to like build things together. Like she has her ice cream business, Milky ice cream, and having two powerhouse women like cheering each other on, like you better watch out.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
Yeah,
It's
great.
unstoppable.
It's great. Although we're like two rocket ships, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, I'm cheering you on, you're cheering me on. Like, we got to have our time too.
Who's driving the plane? Yeah.
If it's not an absolute hell yes, then it has to be a hell no for me. And yeah, so this year, let's go. Let's do this.
As we move forward, learning how to feel and to process through those things. For someone listening that may be experiencing grief for the first time in a grand scale, or someone that's very new in that process of grief from a sudden loss, like, where do you go first? What do you tune into to even begin?
Like, I felt this overwhelming sense of love, like a bubble of protection around me. And I see it now. I know it now. But when I was in it, like nothing made sense. And that's okay. Because your whole world got blown up. And there's no timeline of needing to move through it. It's not linear when you go through loss, any type of loss, and me speaking of significant sudden loss, to take all the time that you can and you need to honor that, let it be messy AF, because you're never going to be the same. I feel that part of me died with my best friend. And I never will get her back. But I'm doing my best to really get to know who I really am. And in doing that, I feel this is such a wild thing to say, but I know Adam more now than I ever did. And it equally hurts, disconnected from religion. Like, I truly know that, I feel him around. I know his love, like an energetic fingerprint. And to know that in whatever way that manifests for you, you're not crazy. You're not crazy for feeling what you're feeling. You're not crazy for when you feel that you might get you call it a sign or a message from your loved one that passed. Like, you're not. Like, you are human, and we're made of energy, and we have souls and spirits, and we're never going to make sense of it. We're not meant to. We're never going to make sense of it fully, or there would be no point of this. And with that, if you can, which is a moment-to-moment practice, but to anchor into that knowing, let it be messy AF, and know that it is truly, like Adam would say, it's okay not to be okay. And you're meant to live a big, bold, beautiful life with grief, not one or the other, but with it. And I am a testament of that. I am more human. I am more me. I am madder, sadder, happier, and loving my life even more than I ever had, even while grieving and missing my best friend every breath that I take.
Hi, Editing Judson here. If you can tell in the frame, as Nikki talked about Adam, the sun started blaring so bright from her window, and we had set the frame up so this wouldn't happen, that we had to reframe it. And I thought that was a beautiful sign, however you'd like to take it.
Thanks, Nikki. Wow. Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Jensen. A lot of people don't, it can get really uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I would just love, the only way is for us to be able to talk about these things, listen to people's stories, because I'm sure that people listening out there, that we're human, y'all, and we're all going to go through loss. If you haven't in the past, but it's inevitable, right? Like
Yeah.
all of our time, we're on borrowed time, and
Yeah.
we're still meant to live. Like we're still meant to live, and I feel more alive now than I ever have.
You can't take away any of those great feelings, those memories. And like, just like, even just thinking like, what the hell would Adam think about the Barbie movie? Like, I don't know, why is Julie this wig so bad? You know, it's like that energy is still with you. And it's such a comfort when I think of myself and like my losses and just like the ways I relate with my friends and stuff, or just all the people that continue to feel that energy, as you mentioned, from whether they trained with him, whether they were friends of a friend, like all of those things carry forward and they don't cease to exist when someone is gone.
Yeah. And talk about that. Talk about them. Like talk about those people in your life and write about them. Talk out loud to them. Like I talk to Adam all the time. I talk to Misty. Like I've got my, like, I feel that I've got my team, and as hard as it is, I was like, I talk to them. I write in my journal, and sometimes we don't know how people will feel, because it feels weird. Like we don't talk about this stuff, do we? And then sometimes you might find that by doing that, somebody else is just waiting there, you know, like like what we've talked about through this, to just go, like, to feel seen.
Yeah.
And
To
safe
feel,
to share their experience as well. So yeah, having those people around, and if you don't have those people around, like being able to keep their spirit alive as well by, they're still real. I was driving the other day, so Adam's mom gave me his car, and her name's Mabel. She's a
Love
sassy old woman. Yep. Chrysler Sebring.
I was just about to ask, what the heck did he drive? Because that is so funny.
He drove a Chrysler Sebring. Okay. And I was like, you definitely should be driving a more sexy car than this. And he's like, no. He bought Mabel new off the lot. Like,
You're kidding. It wasn't like a gift. Oh.
No.
I would have never guessed that.
And so he drives a little Chrysler Sebring around, and I said, she's like her granny. It was like her granny car. And so I named her Mabel, and then it just stuck. So I was in Mabes. I call her Mabes. And something happened with the stereo, and I was like, I just talked out loud. I was like, Adam, if you're effing with me right now, I'm gonna punch you so hard. And I'm like, yes, as every sane person would do, just like, I'm out of the car being like, talking. And you know what? It works for me. It works for me. And then I laughed. It changed my mood. And it was a way of, like, that's so our relationship too.
Yeah.
Of that, like, bickery, little bitchy, like, get back at each other kind of attitude, you know? And so anytime I feel that, I'm like, yeah, if that funny stuff, if there's lots of funny things that happen to me, and I'm like, that's for sure you.
Are there stories behind the scenes no one's heard before, or just like funny or weird stuff that's ever happened before? And I think a cool frame for this question for you, maybe that you and Adam shared a lot of like fitness experiences together, trainings and like filming stuff and whatever. What weird stuff has happened behind the scenes with y'all?
Oh my God. Like weird. There's so many, Judson. Now I can feel like he's like, make her mind go blank. Adam and I, we were going to a quarterly, and him and I both were group fitness managers for CAC. So we were at our gate, and we were like typing away, working, and we got sucked in, and then we like look up, and I was like, Adam, where'd everybody go? And he was like, what? We go up to the gate. We're like, ma'am, where's the flight? And she goes, it's right there. Like, it's leaving. And we're like, shoot, what do we do? What do we do? We were literally in the gate. We didn't miss, like, we missed our flight, but like listening to music, working on our computers. And then we were like, oh my God, like the Lesmos US office is here in Chicago. Like, definitely the people who probably booked our flight, we're going to run into Dave Kyle. Like, Dan was on another flight, but they knew what flight we were supposed to be on. So we're like, what do we do? What if we can't get on another flight? So we like discreetly like tried to like basically hoods up and like shuffle through the airport so nobody would see us. Like, God, they were able to get us on another flight because we would have totally just like missed the quarterly. I'm pretty sure that Les Mills just only like they only put us together on everything because they only want to pay for one hotel room.
So true.
We're like, between you and I, it's like half a brain each. So maybe we only deserve one day rate. One per diem. We're going to keep you really ripped because you only get one day rate of food. And we're like, cool.
Oh my God. As soon as you said hotel room, I mean, you've shared so many hotels rooms with him, but like that, my first summit, we were right next door to you because I was rooming with Steven. And that's the year that I think you had opened the door and Adam's bare ass is just like in the doorway and Steven saw it. And then Adam was like, Steven's the first man that's seen my ass in a long time.
That's correct.
That's correct.
I can vouch from living with him.
Steven, if you're listening, you better be honored.
Yeah, you better be, Steven. We always talk about ripples, you know.
Ripples.